There's no question that the game of basketball is always changing and evolving. This includes new technology and adjustments as time goes on, which include self-tying shoes, shoes that make it jump higher, and even a completely different basketball. But before we talk about the new NBA basketballs and how it might ruin everything, let's dive into some other futuristic evolutions to the game lately. The first thing that we have to talk about is ankle braces. Twisting or rolling an ankle has always been something that just happens every once in a while when playing basketball. It's been a very tough injury to stop, but better guards doing everything in their power to change that moving forward. They've developed new guards that are meant to be smaller with updated tech to keep your ankles from twisting. This is supposed to be so good that the NBA themselves backed the idea. Now the brace is supposed to be integrated with the shoe that you're wearing, and straps tight around your foot as well. Players can keep the same range of motion but with more protection when landing hard at an angle. Most comparisons have it being similar to a seatbelt. When you make a move that might roll your ankle, the brace will get tighter, and if you're moving normally, it'll remain loose and flexible. This brings us to our next futuristic evolution, a self-tying shoe. What's funny about these is that the company behind them sketched out this whole design and idea with the hopes of recreating the shoes in Back to the Future. The simple idea that involves your basketball shoes automatically tying for you keeps you from having to look down or retie them in the middle of a game. It can also keep people from falling thanks to their laces coming untied randomly. However, there are issues just like any other technological project. The biggest issue was that the shoes are heavier than normal basketball shoes thanks to the updated feature. They also cost nearly $500. As of right now, these shoes aren't for sale anymore, but they're still being worked on as we speak. After all, multiple NBA players have worn these shoes on the court, including Ja Morant and Jason Tatum. This is something that could be a reality sooner rather than later. Another reality that might be on the way involves courtside seats. There's a good chance that you've heard of this particular technology already, but these aren't just your regular courtside seats. These are seats that are used in tandem with virtual reality in the metaverse. You strap in your VR headset, and you'll be taken right onto the floor of a live basketball game. There's other features available that allow you to communicate with your friends sitting next to you in the metaverse as well.
These seats are ridiculous.
I feel like I could probably be in the NBA.
It's a very unique design that could take off in the future. Then, the final futuristic item we have to cover before those new basketballs is these shoes that supposedly help you jump higher. Yes, you heard this correctly. Athletic Propulsion Labs created these shoes with the promise that they can help you add up to 3.5 inches to your vertical jump when wearing them. Anybody that might doubt this idea can quickly be shown that these are the real deal. The NBA banned these shoes from the players because it offered an unfair advantage. The inside of the shoe features a few springs that give you a little nudge when you try to jump, which is what makes it work. There were some people that didn't report much of a jump, though others chimed in and said it gave them over an inch to their vertical. It seems like they vary from person to person, but you can actually buy these for yourselves for around $400 in select stores. And now we've come to the biggest evolution in basketball, and likely the most controversial. The new basketball that might change NBA history forever. There are a few problems that we just have to cover with these new balls, though we have to show what it is and the positives first. To start, these new balls are being created by Wilson and have the working title of the Airless Prototype. They've been working on this ball for over 5 years at this point, and the development process is clearly working well. It's a 3D printed basketball that has holes in it, but it still bounces and does everything a basketball should usually do. It's a very expensive type of 3D printing, though, which means the normal everyday person can't just go ahead and develop one of these for themselves, no. These balls are instead formulated with a unique lasering system that then gets sent for rigorous testing before it can even be used on an official court or be able to replace a normal basketball. The basic function of these new balls is that nobody will need to inflate or deflate them, and they're unbelievably durable. Players won't need to go ahead and check each basketball before the game to determine which feels best either, because they'll all be set in stone well beforehand to the perfect measurements. Though, of course, problems have arisen. The first problem that we have to talk about is shooting. For example, if these balls replace the current NBA balls, then what if players like Steph Curry can't hit a shot anymore? This is the problem that arises with swapping balls. You want players to be able to shoot the same way they always have without the need to think or change the way they operate. Due to the holes, maybe these balls might roll off your hands a little differently. They could grip differently and throw off your motion. Or maybe the holes create airflow concerns, and they don't travel in the air like a normal basketball would. There's a lot of these types of questions regarding the shot motion you need to have, and rightfully so. The NBA certainly won't be better off making balls that nobody can shoot with. The next problem that comes up is sweat. This slightly correlates to what we're talking about with the airflow. Does this basketball have a good defense system for players sweating? Because let me tell you, if you expect players to not sweat on this ball, then you might as well just scrap the idea now. the players will sweat on the basketball and there needs to be no effect on it whatsoever. Will the sweat start dragging the ball down in the air? Will the sweat make the ball unbelievably slippery? More slippery than a normal basketball would be? Is the sweat going to get sticky on the ball due to the way that it's printed? These are all questions that need to be answered in the testing phase, because there's no other way around it. Another problem is the holes themselves. Again, we've already spoken on what they might do to the airflow, but they just might feel awkward. I mean, will they be able to bounce the same with all those holes in there? What if you bounce the ball awkwardly on one of those holes? Will the ball fly in a different direction? It might seem like it wouldn't, but you could never go wrong with questioning these things before using them. Are the holes even good for holding onto the ball as well? What if a player's driving into the lane and his finger gets caught in one of the holes while he attempts a layup or a dribble move? Does the possession just count as normal and it results in a turnover? How often will that be happening? The holes in the ball are a serious unknown. Then the final problem is involving the bounce itself. The bounce is a combination of everything we've mentioned already. Will the sweat on the ball just drip onto the floor when you bounce it and open the door for more injuries thanks to slipping? Is the ball going to get caught in your hand due to sweat or players just having large fingers? If a player gets caught in the holes of the ball, will it start to bounce awkwardly or get tossed in the opposite direction? The NBA really has to narrow down these questions and concerns, because the NBA players will have serious doubts when they start to hear about the design of these basketballs, especially considering that it's their career we're talking about here. The first of which is what will happen when you play outside. For those of us that aren't in the NBA, playing with these balls outside might be difficult. The holes could create some concerns because of how things can get inside of it. What if you're playing on a concrete court? If a rock or pebble gets into the holes, it could throw anybody off. That rock could hit somebody when you try to shoot the ball or hit you in the hand when you're attempting to dribble. Playing in the rain outside also offers the same concern as getting sweat on it. And the heat could raise concerns over it literally melting out in the sun because it's lasered together. On top of that, the wind will become a greater factor than ever before. Are these basketballs heavier or lighter than a typical basketball? Will the wind simply carry my jump shot 40 feet off the court? Then comes the other aspect of us normal players wanting to use these. How expensive are they going to be? Just because they're 3D printed doesn't mean that they should be a ridiculous amount for anybody to pick up and play, especially considering the issues. Will we have to be spending hundreds of dollars just to hit the court with our friends? And will other basketballs still be relevant and in stores if we want to use them? I sure hope so, because not everybody will agree with the price or use of these balls, even NBA players. Finally, we as fans and the NBA players themselves need to watch these balls utilized on a major stage to gauge it for themselves. One good idea could be to use them during the preseason, or possibly even the G League to get a feel for them at a professional level. Then you could even implement them into the NBA All-Star Game to let the best players around tell you how they feel about them. Tons of people watch the All-Star Game, and they all see these stars miss open shots consistently. Concerns will be raised and alarms will be sounded off. What are your thoughts on the new basketballs? Do you think they'll ruin the NBA? Let us know your thoughts and make sure to check out the 20 times Giannis Antetokounmpo shocked the world next.